thank you for being with me, man. I really appreciate it. I hate Nate couldn't be with us tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
his evenings are just busy these days, and I also have kids, but I can sneak away for an hour podcast, and especially that's why I asked for a late time to podcast because kids are down and just got some free time here. So
awesome. So, just real quick, by way of introduction, um, this is the first time we've actually had a conversation, although I've been following you on social, now on Instagram and YouTube for the last year or so.
yep,
And you were one of the um, first channels that really piqued my interest when I jumped on, and just liked what you guys were doing. But it was also because y'all are twins. Y'all are
yep,
identical twin brothers, and I have identical twin 11-year-old boys, and they love to hunt and be outside and be crazy. And so that was certainly a draw for me with you guys. But um, if you don't mind, just kind of give me a little bit of background about you guys, family, what that looks like for you and for Nate.
yep.
And then we'll get into some of the YouTube stuff and how you jumped into this business.
Sweet, sounds good. Trip. So Nate and we started Identical Draw. Um, Technically, we formed a LLC in 2017, but it was 2016 that we really um, started like filming our hunts and realized that this is something we really want to do. Um, so, gosh, we had great mentors that helped us kind of step into it. I'd say we did not know what we were getting into, but I mean, it's been an awesome journey. So we live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we're mainly whitetail hunters. But Identical Draw, we create content for many brands. We're more so a content creation company more than kind of influencers, but we kind of dip our feet on both sides there.
Okay.
Um, and I've got a wife and three kids. Been married for coming up on 5 years, and then Nate has a
Y'all got
wife.
going quick. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
got going quick. I was married, both me and my wife were 20, um, and
Okay.
I'm freshly 25 now. So just jumped in. Uh, partly our choice, partly God's, with the kid side of things, and yeah, Nate's got a wife and two kids. So I had my third, and he had his second on the same day within an hour. January 20th. It was a wild situation.
Y'all are such twins. That's so
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
How
So that's the
cool. So
quick and
you live
dirty.
in Lincoln,
Yeah,
um, which you just told me is the southeast corner of Nebraska. I've only been, Nebraska is actually where I killed my very first out of state deer just a couple of years ago, up near in Niobrara,
yeah,
like that area.
yeah.
Um, it's beautiful. Love that place. Matter of fact, I drew an antelope tag this year,
Oh,
like
really?
a
Nice.
statewide bow archery tag, because I don't think non-residents can draw a gun tag for
Yeah.
antelope. So I'm hoping to maybe get back to Nebraska this year. But curious, so you said, all right, so y'all got married. You're so young. My goodness,
Yeah.
y'all are 25 years old,
Yeah.
and you're saying you just turned 25.
Hmm.
Y'all wear it well. You have a very mature mustache, and so
Thanks.
it gives you a few years, so that
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah. It helps. We noticed maybe the first 2 years trying to create an outdoor brand that our youth was against us. Everybody
Really.
wanted to partner with somebody that wasn't. Um, yeah, gosh, 20 or 18 even.
Okay.
Um, but then we started growing. That's a heavy reason we started growing the beards because most people thought we were like 5 to 8 years older than we actually were. So
Wait. Y'all had a natural conversation. Like this
What do
was
you mean?
intentional? Like we're going to
Oh,
grow facial hair.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Seriously?
yeah. That's a hot tip.
Oh, that's awesome. See, that is a good
Yeah,
tip. Well, this is
yeah.
interesting because, like, I'm 49 and, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like nobody wants to partner with me being brand new because I'm old, you know?
Mm.
So, there must be some kind of like, what are your thoughts there? I mean, is there some sort of sweet spot that's like a good time to enter or just whenever?
I'm gonna say whenever. It just I think if you're starting out brand new, there are advantages to maybe being in your like high 20s, 30 something. But
Okay.
we made it. We made it. Started working for us. Like we had professional things when we were 18, 19. But we had to lean on mentors to kind of vouch for us a little bit more so then. So
Now, by mentors, you mean somebody like actually in the industry doing what you wanted to do?
yeah, we always give the Heartland Bowhunter guys a lot of credit because
Okay.
we went to their film school in 2016, and their footage, I'd say, it borderline like changed us and um, kind of how we consumed hunting media. We'd basically only want to watch their stuff. Just the other lower quality stuff just wasn't quite as appealing to us, and we really caught on to their stuff, and they were generous enough to let us pick their brain, and we actually did like a formal mentorship through our college. We convinced them somehow to like give us full-time credits, but we only had one class in a semester. The rest was out of like basically like a it was like a 12 credit class where we were able to follow around Sean Luchtel and do some stuff with him. Um, we both didn't actually graduate college. We both did 2 years, and then decided like why are we here doing
Uh-huh.
studying other things like my dad's in HR, so that was a little bit of a battle right away. He likes to see a degree, but he eventually also understood, yeah, like you guys are learning so much, um, you're getting real life experience. That's what it's all about. So
Okay. That's
yeah,
interesting. So, yeah, I mean, clearly you and your brother uh, grew up liking each other well enough to continue going to school together and then working together. How did that impact your decision for what you wanted to do? And then, how does that factor in nowadays, just with that
yeah.
work relationship?
We didn't hesitate at all forming a company together. Our parents did a really good job um, making us kids. So I've got Nate. He's older than me. Obviously, we're twins, and then my sister Katie, 3 years older than us, and then a younger brother that's about 2 years younger.
Okay.
And our parents just kind of instilled like, you guys are going to be friends. Like, um, we didn't fight a ton growing up. Like, sure, we had our battles, but me and Nate specifically, it was an easy decision when we both had the passion we did in hunting. Um, we we fight, but the resolution's so quick, and it's never violent.
That's
It's
good.
productive. It's always productive. So we're actually really good business partners. This isn't going to be the last thing we go down the road together on. So um, yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting, because I don't know, like what happens when one of you maybe does decide to go a different direction, or I'm not saying that ever will happen,
yep,
but like what does that do to identical draw? Does that,
yep.
does one like what are your, I mean, I'm sure you'll have an occasional conversation along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we had it last year because we were both we were both heavily doing some like part time. We were working actually for a part time moving company that the flexibility was unbelievable, just so amazing. We were getting paid cash hourly, like it was just a good deal to be able to hunt and make money. we could be gone for a month and then be like, hey, I want to work this week, and we could get on the schedule. So we were doing that for a while. But then we decided, hey, like one of us needs to be full-time identical draw. So that's me. And then
Okay.
Nate actually got his real estate license because just so many reasons for that. Um, he does. I mean, we both have a passion for land, which I'm sure we'll get to. With like just starting with our 80 acres, but um, having making those land connections in the industry we're in is, we think, a smart route for him to go down. So he still does a lot of time with identical draw. He joins me on hunts. Um, I do just a lot of more the editing, the partner work, the communication, stuff like that. So we did it. It was a I'll say, I mean, it was a battle, I'd say, just to figure out like how it was going to look. Like Nate was doing a lot more than he is now. He was basically doing all our photo editing, which is time consuming. He was taking more video editing. So it was just like, what roles am I taking from Nate here? I've always been the finance tax guy, so that was a easy transition. But yeah, we've kind of just, whatever our strengths are, we just lean into them. So.
So so his involvement, like, is he still doing any editing or of photos and video or what?
Yeah, he'll edit when he's got time. He actually just he just edited the Colorado elk video we just dropped, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe. That was one of our it was first off an insane trip to Colorado last year. It was a archery tag. Um, so it's done decent on YouTube, and he had time to be able to knock that out. I mean, we've had footage since last fall, so it took a little bit of time, but he
Right.
does he does a little bit of stuff. He'll if I'm really if I'm really busy, he'll throw up a post on the socials too. So
But for the most part, you're the one handling social media.
yep,
Okay, so you're the one that I've probably communicated with, I guess,
yes,
on
yep,
occasion over the last year or
yep.
so. Okay, so that's interesting. Um, so talking to the young man or woman who is, because it's interesting because you said, I don't know, maybe late 20s, early 30s would be a good time. But here's the thing, like, nobody's going to wait until they're 29 or 30
Yep.
to make a decision about, making money and having a career and that sort of thing. So, um, you're certainly not going to be 18 years old and go, in 10 years, I'm going to enter the hunting industry, as a social media influencer. So they're going to jump in, but so, you know, two or three like best pieces of advice that you would give somebody who's having some of those thoughts, that young person who maybe is giving it a try. They've got a few hundred followers on Instagram. They've got 12 people, who subscribe, which includes all their family members, on their YouTube channel, and, three videos, and, like that kid, but they love to hunt. They see it. The idea of going to college sounds terrible. Like, what's your advice for these kids?
Oh man, absolutely lean into that. Whether it's in the outdoors or whatever you're passionate about. Choosing to be an entrepreneur and doing this thing ourselves has been like one of the greatest decisions that Nate and I know, speaking for him, that we've made in our life. Advice. I mean, trying to think. I mean, I think not not being tied to um, not completely being tied to a college degree, not to go down that whole route, but I mean, they're important, and there's a reason that a lot of people have degrees, and it's not a thing that's going to hurt you, but um, realize that the real life experience can do a lot for you. I'd say to that person that's got a couple family members subscribed, it's all about building relationship. I'd say is what
Yep,
has helped us so much. And Trip, I can tell just talking with you the last year that you're all about that. That's what's gotten us to where we are today, and we live by the motto of just not burning a bridge.
that's
That
good.
everybody in the industry knows I'm sure you're figuring this out. Everybody's worked everywhere. Everybody knows each other.
Yeah,
So you burn one bridge, you burn people.
that's right.
If you're getting into it, use those relationships you have. Just network your butt off. Don't definitely don't overstep in any ways. I know some people just I think man like this was many years ago, but they they would just reach out to so many different like creators and try to get just as much like borderline just a little bit too much information, and then they just kind of just turns off the other person. But if you're able to just create those relationships, really just doesn't always have to be about business. Just form that friendship with whoever it is, and
Okay.
just going to outdoor events. Nate and I we went to too many trade shows when we were getting into it. Like we were going to SHOT Show and all these big ones that we really didn't need to be going to, but we went to them, and you don't know who's seeing you there or what. So just networking as much as possible. That's the
So
number
you
one
would
thing.
recommend not maybe doing quite as many? Is that what you're saying? Of
Yeah,
those trade shows?
there are some important ones. I mean, I always say Western Hunting Conservation Expo. That's a great one because it's not like it's getting busier every year, but it's not the show floor like ATA or SHOT. I haven't been to ATA since pre-COVID. Um, that used to just be a crazy nightmare. It was hard. Like if we were getting one or two connections like a whole week, then we were like having a good show. It was just trying to find the right person. So Western Hunting Conservation Expo, I've heard NWTF is great. That's a big one as well. But
Yeah, I was there
um,
this year.
oh yeah, how's that for you?
That was great. Like it
Good.
really was great. Now, I did have somebody that was able to that's somewhat connected and was able to, take me around, and she does my wife was with me, but this this girl does like the Mossy Oak Gamekeeper sells all the ads for their magazine and
Mm,
stuff. And so she knows a lot of those connections with Mossy Oak. And
nice.
so it ended up being great. Um, but even still, like what was kind of your approach? And I guess probably at your age, like when you were 20, it was
Yeah.
a little more daunting, to go around and expect people to take you seriously and to write your
Yep.
number down. Like what was kind of your strategy when you went? Like, because you want it to be real. Like, you don't want to be like a salesman, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely uncomfortable, and I'm glad that is a little bit behind me. Like we're still doing it. We'll still go up to new booths and shake hands, and that's basically what you gotta do. And if you're going to multiple shows, find that same person that you shook at the same show 4 weeks back. They're seeing you, like they're recognizing, okay, this guy's at the show. Um, those people are so unbelievably worn out. Maybe like showing up day one is not a bad idea. And we would always make our trips probably longer than they needed to be, but yeah, we'd wing it. I know people might have like a pitch deck or like something on their phone that they're showing that marketing person, but man, we would just shake hands, um, simple things, good eye contact, firm handshake, and just like kind of wing it. And sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't, and that's a
But
tough way. That's a tough way
but
to
was
do it.
there an
But
ask, or was it just
like
getting to know
basically, like, hey,
somebody?
we'd love to have a conversation after show season.
Um,
Because even partners we have currently are like talk to me after like at the beginning of March because um, people are just swamped from January to March. So
so January to March is kind of that show
yeah,
season.
yeah, classic show season starting with like ATA and I think Dallas Safari Club and I think NWTF might be um, on the later end of the big shows, but I mean there's a big one in Alabama this last week even. So
Yeah, the Birmingham Deer
yeah,
Expo. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to thinking back to my 18-year-old self. That would have just scared the mess out of me. To go walk around and try to meet people. But I guess if you know, like, that's really what you want to do, and that that's kind of the approach you need to
Yeah.
take, and you're willing to do it, you
Worst,
just do it.
we always say the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
We've had the tough conversations that people just want you out of there, but more than likely you're gonna meet somebody friendly and start a conversation. So
So were you thinking at the time partnerships? Is that kind of what you were trying to
yeah,
establish? Is that what you were doing?
yeah, this is all like before YouTube was like even on like a really platform for any outdoor creators. Um, the goal was to get on the outdoor channel for the longest time. We wanted to be the next Heartland bow hunter and do that thing, but that quickly turned to we want to be we want to just put our stuff on YouTube and create content for companies.
Interesting. When did y'all kind of
Yeah.
make that decision?
When we found out it took 150K to get on the outdoor channel,
Really?
um, and yeah, it's basically a pay to play platform, or at least it was a couple of years ago. And
Interesting.
the last I heard about
Yeah, so either you've got to have personal, like really deep pockets, or you've got enough people who are a part of the project that everybody kind of pitches in, I guess.
Yep, yep,
That's interesting. But yeah, with YouTube now, I mean, golly, like there's so much opportunity,
yeah,
entry level, the barrier to entry is so minimal now. But because of that, differentiating yourself from the crowd becomes
yep,
extremely difficult. I mean, oh, it's just another, deer hunt video. What's going to distinguish that? Either early on, you've got to be able to distinguish yourself,
yep,
or later on, you've already got a following, so they're going to watch anyway, because
yep,
they trust you.
yep.
So tell me, so that's all really good. We may touch on some more of that, but I'm
Yep.
interested in the new hunters thing. So, is that something y'all still do?
Yeah. Yeah, we start yeah,
Newhunters.org?
newhunter.org. Yeah, we started that website in 2021 after we went to the Archery Trade Association. There was a talk that was kind of given on what are we doing about um, decreasing numbers and all this whole thing, numbers and social media, the whole spiel. And Nate and I basically left that and we're like, we need to do something about it, because months after like this intense meeting, we hadn't heard anything from anybody else that was there much. So we decided, hey, we're gonna promote this thing, and COVID happened to just swing in at the perfect time. It was unbelievable. That summer we had over 1,000 entries to hunt with us, and
Wow,
it,
really?
it was, yeah, it was insane. We haven't had anything close to that since. We'll get maybe 20, but yeah, so we took out, gosh, 11 people that first fall. It was the busiest fall ever. At that point, I was the only one with one kid, so we had a little bit more flexibility. But man, it was 5 day trip to next 5 day trip to a couple days off
They were
to hunting with,
5 days?
yeah, to just hunting with new people that we had never met. And it was just, we kind of got into the swing of things, and I mean, it was unbelievable. Like at the end of every trip we had more friends, and it was just, there wasn't a bad experience. It was the best thing that Nate and I have ever done during a fall, and we created newhunter.org from that, which is basically where new hunters and seasoned hunters can meet. I think we're right around 38 to 40 states with a mentor or multiple mentors, and
Okay.
I've seen recently July is a busy month for it, because people are just, they're if they're wanting to get into hunting, they know hunting season's around the corner and they're trying to find a mentor. So
Just had a kid write me on Instagram just like an hour ago and said, he's loves to fish, always fished, can't wait to get into hunting. Like, I want to get into hunting.
yeah,
And I was thinking, you know, that's wonderful. Go for
Yeah.
it. I hope you can find, but it's like if your dad doesn't, and your friend group doesn't, what do you do? You
Right.
know, especially like if public land is your only option, as a kid who's never gone, like that can sound, I mean, it's scary for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't grow up hunting public land. That just wasn't like, I didn't know
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so I can't, can only imagine for a new hunter how difficult that would be. And so if it's not public land and you don't have private land access, can be really daunting.
Yeah.
So when y'all started that, did y'all travel to them or did you have them come to you?
It wasn't like we made it clear that it wasn't like an all paid kind of thing. They would travel to us, but then we also like we were traveling to these hunts. So gosh, that first year we did South Dakota antelope. So we were traveling all the way out there, and we had good buddies that were actually hunting again this year out of Illinois. They came and joined us on that. Uh, they were yeah, they were in their 50s and had an awesome time. They're like late onset hunting. Their kids wanted to get into it, so
Late
that's what got
onset hunting.
that.
That's
That's
good.
yeah, that's what got them into it. And uh, then we had a group, two California guys join us on some Nebraska public. Um, then
Which
multiple
there's not
whitetail
a lot
hunts.
of, right?
Not a ton. We were out west, so there's a couple bigger chunks, but
Okay.
that COVID year is actually the last good year that we've had out there. And then I forgot we did Colorado elk too in September as well with two new hunters. So it's a lot.
So brand new hunters and they go elk hunting for their
Yeah. So that
first.
was yeah. So
Holy.
it was very specific people we were choosing for that. One of them was actually our brother-in-law Tommy,
Okay.
who we know had been shooting during that summer. Because that's the biggest worry is like these guys, like the antelope hunters, the mule deer hunters, and the elk hunters, like they need to have been archers and just not gunning and hunting. And we found some amazing guys that could shoot their bows very, very well. Brian, the first new hunter on the antelope trip, he heart punched an antelope at 60 yards day one,
Oh,
and as a new hunter, first time ever drawn back on a
wow.
yeah, first time ever drawn back on game. We couldn't believe it. Had multiple close encounters with on the mule deer hunt, and then the other elk hunter was he's a hot shot out of New Mexico, so he's fighting fires, and he was beating us up the mountain, and we're cardio guys, so we're usually ones leading the pack. Like he was just we were following him, so
Wow.
yeah.
How cool is that? So that was the first year?
That was 2020. Since then, we've still done a lot more. We utilize crossbows a ton from Bear Archery. Super, just amazing with getting new hunters dialed quickly and confident.
Yep. Yep.
Um, we had a lot of new hunters bring their compounds, but we were like just like we had very strict rules on like how tight we needed to see those groups before they went out hunting. And as soon as they shot those crossbows, they're just like their fear went away and their confidence grew, and they're like, okay, I don't feel confident with my compound. I'm gonna shoot your crossbow. Those are on whitetail hunts. Then we've also dipped into muzzle loaders as well. That's what we do a lot more recently. So
So what do you think attributed during COVID to the number?
people getting laid off, people just working remote. It was just I think fear, a little bit of fear of like what's happening next. Like I need to be able to hunt
Uh,
for my own food. I heard every reason under the sun that people wanted to get into hunting. So
but why would it drop so dramatically?
I'm
Like a
not sure.
thousand to like 20. That's
I think people just they were able to maybe focus on something that they wanted to do for once, and then like as soon as like work picked up again, it was just like forget whatever that year in my life was. But yeah, it's changed a lot from like what we got that first year, hundreds and hundreds to yeah, just ball depending on the hunt. I'm sure if we did like another mule deer or elk, it'd be high again. But yeah,
So have you, okay. So uh, on the website, it's more than just you and your brother.
yeah,
So, I mean, this is quite an undertaking, so I can only imagine that even to manage the website and the contacts and whatever, it just adds a lot to your plate. And I assume there's not a lot of compensation for that. I just, like
yeah,
how are y'all doing that?
yeah. No, newhunter.org is completely funded from Identical Draw. We have some partners paying smaller amounts for it, but we really want newhunter.org. It's a .org. It's not technically a nonprofit
Right.
yet.
Yeah.
So, but
Are you
uh,
thinking about that then?
we're thinking about it. It might be we might go down that rabbit hole. Um, but yeah, it's just something that Nate and I really care about, and we're like, we'll we'll do the work to upload interview mentors, run background checks, pay for website and stuff, and when we do the trips, we have some partners that help. Um, Mueller Foundation, Dallas Safari Club, they always pitch in a little bit of grant money too to help us out. So
So is that something you'll plan on continuing to manage yourself, or is that something you think you'll probably pass along to somebody?
yeah, I don't know. That's something that if we spent more time on it, it could probably be a much bigger fire. Um, but we're just it honestly like it's kind of a back burner thing. It's like when like we don't pay it, like I'll update the website maybe twice a year. Of course, when mentors reach out, like we're getting back to them as quickly as we can, getting them on the website, all that sort of thing. Um, Otherwise, it's kind of just rolling on in the background. I'm seeing the emails come in with people creating accounts and stuff, but otherwise, it's kind of its own ecosystem. We trust the mentors to communicate with the new hunters and vice versa. So,
Because that's what I was thinking. Like you know, just from the outside looking in, I can tell it's probably a back burner item.
yep,
Because you've only got so much bandwidth. Kids,
yep,
family, identical
yep,
draw. Your brother has another job. I mean, already it's like, how are y'all doing this? Like, that's my first thought. And so, kind of having it on the back burner, that's why I was thinking if it was somebody's like if it was their baby, like, this is my thing, I'm going to handle it, and we'll keep it through identical draw or underneath a nonprofit that's under y'all or whatever, but having somebody else, who's passionate about it to manage it.
yep,
So that was my first thought. But then our state, Alabama, and I think this is relatively new, has a new hunter initiative kind of like this,
yeah,
but just for Alabama.
mm,
Um, and you can become a mentor, and I can't think what they call it, but it's part of Outdoor Alabama. And so I was just thinking, there's probably other states that have at least something like this, and so
yep,
at least an arm of what you do could either be advising some of these state initiatives or partnering with them somehow to find your mentors or whatever. I don't know. I was kind of thinking, or maybe y'all just step in where it's not available, or maybe
yep,
you help states get the funding to do, like that. That was kind of my thinking. I don't know.
yeah. We've talked to different states before. The thing with that is the process we saw is just taking them so long to figure
Yeah,
it all out, and like
always.
the Nebraska Game Parks actually was kind of a disappointing thing. They they honestly they kind of jumped my brother with a he thought it was just gonna be like a one-on-one with a guy we knew over there, but it was ended up being like six different guys from like different attorneys and all this stuff, and they were trying to basically pick his brain on what we're doing. I'm like, there's just a lot. We're not in it to make money, and that's the answer that they wanted. It's like, how are you guys making money? And like when we're given the answer, like we'll see how we make, like we'll see what happens. They just can't understand that because
which is
state's just
crazy
data.
to me
Yeah, yeah,
because the money is ultimately the licenses and gear and,
yeah,
you know, like
yeah,
that's where the funding, at least state wise, it seems like that would be, seems like a no brainer that they would want
yeah,
to work with you. That's
yeah.
when was that? When did y'all
That
approach
that
that?
was when we were making the website. That was 2021.
When y'all were just getting started with it?
Just getting started. Yep,
That's crazy. Well,
yep.
that's interesting. So, um, sustainable for you guys? Like, what do you
Uh,
do? What's your involvement with that in 5 years? Just thoughts.
you say newhunter.org?
Mm,
We'll see where that one. We'll see where we're gonna keep paying for that website subscription. We're gonna keep uploading people. We know a lot of people that are doing similar things. We're good buddies with Ben O'Brien. He's got his new owner deal as well, and um, it's controversial, honestly. I'm sure you've seen some of the whole battle on whether we should be getting new hunters involved or not. And, I mean,
yeah.
numbers showed this year that they're still dropping. So um, like we all understand that public land is crowding, but it's not an issue of us getting some new hunters involved. They're not going to your public land spot. They're really not. Most of these, almost all of these hunters that we've taken out have they've continued hunting, but they're getting private land permission. They're doing that whole thing, and they're hunting their grandparents that they didn't know owned land, or just something like something crazy. So um,
Well, my perspective on that, is like the only person that's really hurting is the individual who primarily hunts on public land.
right,
But when it comes to the state and like, there's not enough.
yeah,
There's just not. There's not.
yeah,
I mean, the herd here in Alabama is like 1.5 million, and that's just whitetail.
yeah,
I mean, and the number that are killed, like we're not keeping up with it. I mean,
yeah,
they're everywhere,
yeah,
and for it to continue to drop, which number two guy in the state, game warden, is a good friend of ours, and he makes it pretty clear. We still need people buying licenses and
yeah,
being a part of this, because not
yeah,
again, even with 250,000 licenses, not everybody's hunting.
yeah, right,
You know, not all
yeah,
that often anyway. And they're
yeah,
not like, I mean, I didn't really help the cause last year. I shot a doe. Like
yeah,
I was not very successful last year. So
yeah,
I mean, we've still got our part to play, and so I think there's very much. I mean, good gracious, like conservation wise, and just being a part, being in the great outdoors and the memories that are forged and relationships, like we need to invite people into that,
yeah,
change the perspective.
really, yeah.
So, so now I'm just interested. What's this season looking like? What y'all
It's
got
it's an
planned?
it's busy. We pulled a lot of tags.
That's
We
what I
weren't,
heard. I remember seeing that.
yeah, we weren't anticipating all the tags, but we're starting out with the Colorado archer tag in Nate's pocket.
Okay.
We decided we've got other things late September, so as much as we'd love to go late September again, we're gonna start September 1, try to kill that bull over the wallow that's still on a summer pattern. So starting out there,
So kind of
that's gonna
pre rut.
right. Yeah, we hear bugling every once in a while that early, but they're not like you're not getting into bugle fest or anything. So basically, one to first to the fifth to the maybe sixth. I don't know. We'll see. We're not giving it as much time as we'd like to, just because of how packed our September is. Because get back from that trip home for I don't know 4 or 5 days and head out to Idaho. which is our longest jaunt all fall. We drive. It just, as a hunter, it's just easier to drive, even though it's
It's a long way.
18 hours to wear, 18 to 20 hours to wear. Where I have my tag for, and then we're gonna give that another 5, 6 days. Hopefully, kill earlier than that on all of these trips. But there's always some long trips that we go home empty-handed, of course. Um, then we have our first full week home probably in September. But I say that we'll probably take 1 or 2 of those days and jump down to the Kansas ground and see if one of those whitetails wants to hang around early September. 2 homebodies are hanging around, and they've shown up a little bit in September in the past, so it's not out of question. Then we
Now I
head to
know that
Wisconsin.
Nebraska opens September 1st, right?
Nebraska September 1st. Yep. Kansas is, I think, maybe the second or third Monday. It's like the 12th or the 14th or something this year.
Okay.
I don't know the exact day. So yeah. So then we go to Wisconsin late September. That's the wrap on September, and then go into a not quite as busy October, but we'll do South Dakota for a week. That's become a favorite hunt. Then
For
I pulled
whitetail.
for whitetail, and there's some mule deer around too that we might chase every once in a while. Um, and then Colorado rifle tag, so we go back out to Colorado. It's my first elk rifle tag. It's first rifle tag, so that's probably I'm most excited for that. I've actually never killed an elk. I've held the tag, gosh, maybe 3 or 4 years. Had a lot of close calls, flung arrows, but it just hasn't come together. I felt like last year the flip kind of switched on the elk hunting. Like I understood it. We were doing smart things. We had a lot of close encounters. Like we were doing everything right. We just didn't have that 5% of luck we needed. Um, so
Bummer.
I feel confident with the rifle tag that it's happening this year. Then after that, it's really just we're on the Kansas City hunt mode. Um, Oklahoma's kind of a trip that's kind of hanging in the air every year. We love going down there when we can. Then just Nebraska, they have the muzzleloader season that's all the month of December. So we've got a bunch of different muzzleloader hunts planned there.
So, Oklahoma, is that public land?
Yep, all public on all those hunts except Kansas.
Okay.
Yep.
So everything public.
Yeah, we just we don't have private land options besides our Kansas 80. We've had some northeast Nebraska ground that has kind of diminished a little bit. But yeah, we found out getting into this that knocking on doors is successful every once in a while, but just figuring out we try to go to one new spot every year, and then after 5, 6 years, you got waypoints all over the place, and you know what's what.
So, you did a video not too long ago on your permission letter.
Yep,
Was that really more specifically for turkey hunting?
that
The
was that
permission
was
that
for
you're
turkey
getting for
hunting.
that?
Yeah, that's for turkey hunting, but we have used it to get some deer permission from that. I'd say that's a great tactic. Is even starting with like lower than that, like mushroom hunting, shed hunting. We found actually shed hunting is in some cases harder than getting turkey hunting permission.
Really?
We were really surprised this year. We thought we were just going to call people up and be like, "Hey, we're trying to pick up sheds, help like basically decrease farmers from running over them and puncturing tires." But we didn't get a single yes. Um, but we got a bunch of turkey yeses. So um,
That's
yeah,
funny.
turkey hunting. Some of those you just build those relationships again, and it turns into deer hunting. So
So were those primarily Nebraska?
all Nebraska, but um, we'll door knock basically every state we're in. So
Okay.
yeah.
How successful are you doing that most of the time? Got a pretty
Depends on
good
the
sales pitch?
depends on the state. Nebraska's tough. Nebraska's really tough. Um, we don't do it in Kansas just because we have our 80. We've had luck in Wisconsin, some South Dakota. So some people, you just got to shoot your shot with that. Like, again, the worst they can say is no, and you just if you have a kid with you, it helps. We usually don't have a kid, but during turkey season, I'll carry my 3-year-old daughter and or 4-year-old son, and it's the ticket. So
Like while you're knocking on doors? Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
if you have
That's
them in your
good.
arms, yeah,
Oh, that's brutal. That's
yeah,
brutal. So my 20-year-old, if I just carry him in my arms,
yeah.
like,
They
yeah.
might be more concerned. Like, is there somebody need help? But
Do I need to call somebody?
yeah.
So why Wisconsin? You keep mentioning Wisconsin, like that's an interesting addition.
Why do we hunt there? Or
Yeah, like what's that? Like, is that one that you do every year or?
we really started because we're really good buddies with the Vortex Optics guys that are out of Wisconsin. That's what got us up there turkey hunt.
Okay,
And then we have other buddies up there, and that's we've turkey hunted it. Gosh, maybe 3 or 4 years now. Always have a good time up there. And then this will be our first year deer hunting it though.
in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So, um, so it's elk hunting though, in Colorado and Idaho.
muleys in Idaho.
Muleys in Idaho. So
Yep,
Colorado's elk. That's it.
Colorado just elk. Yep.
Okay. And do you both have an archery tag?
Nope, just Nate, and then I've got
Nate has
the
archery.
rifle
You have
tag.
rifle.
Yep,
Is he going with you? Are y'all going for both of
yep,
those?
yep,
Oh gosh. Okay.
yep.
Wow. September.
Busy
That's
month.
amazing. So
Yep,
Colorado, back to Nebraska, out to Idaho,
yep. Ping pong.
and then was there another one? Was it Wisconsin in
Wisconsin. Yep,
September? Holy
yep,
smokes.
yep.
Okay. Well, so this is good. This is a great segue because very curious. Oh wait, before I get there, I did want to ask about the Kansas 80. Like,
Yep.
because I saw y'all doing a lot of work this spring, a lot of burning, and looked like a lot of hinge cutting or clearing.
Yep.
What all's going on there? You've had it what, 2 years?
We've had it. Gosh, this will actually be our fourth fall. We got it in
Okay.
2019. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And y'all went in together on this, I guess, or
It's actually family property. So
okay.
parents wrote the check, and we've just managed it a ton since then.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So what all like, because you can't do it all at one time. So what did y'all do this year? Like, what were some of your strategic
Yeah.
planning?
Um, we every year we're doing some timber stand improvement. We're dropping trees, girdling trees. Um, we're less so like making new food plots now. Some food plots we're like just not planning again. It's weird. We're not like anti food plot, but just the way our 80 works, we've seen it worked better when when it's a little more wild. The manicured clover plots I see on the outdoor channel aren't always the best ticket. Um, but so and then we did a ton of burning, probably the most burning we've ever done. Really the in the timber stuff is really what we were trying to focus on because our 80 is so wooded, it's so thick. There's barely any sunlight, but after all the tree work we've done the last 3 or 4 years, there are some spots that we can get in the timber burn, but they're kind of risky days to burn technically. But we know our 80 so well, and we know our breaks that we might be burning on a windy, low humidity day, but
Hmm.
you need that for in the timber because down those draws you're getting, gosh, 30% of what the wind is gusting out in the pasture. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah, it's almost all wooded, our property around our house.
yeah,
And, it makes like, I don't have a food plot bigger than a quarter acre.
yeah,
They're just kill plots in my
yeah,
mind. I'm not exactly providing a lot of nutrition.
right,
It's more just getting them to stop for
yeah,
5 seconds.
yeah,
So it's the same kind of thing here, although we haven't, it's very swampy and, hard to burn back
yeah.
there. but that's interesting. Okay, so here's my thought. So I just want to talk a little bit about family.
Yep.
So y'all been doing I mean, obviously. Now, were y'all married when y'all started this?
No, we were both dating our wives. Um, yeah, so I got married in 2018 and they got married in 2020. So, um, shortly after,
So they
yeah,
knew what they were getting into,
yep, yep,
kinda,
a little bit.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
So tell me about that. Like,
I could
well,
write a novel about that trip.
I know you could.
It's,
This is so important, though. Like,
yeah, people don't
you,
understand like how and then you understand. It's just the back and forth of, are we doing this thing or not? Can we do this thing or not? Life changes. You get married. You have a kid. You have kid two. You have kid three. Where's the money coming from? How little can you live off of? Like
for how
it's
long?
everything. Yeah, it's all of that, and we're constantly reevaluating. Like, can tell you how many times like we had almost like like business ultimatums. Like we need this, or like we're done, and we'd get there, and we're just like 3 more months, 6 more months. And I think the only thing that's gotten us to really where we are today is that we didn't quit. We just like the longevity. We're still here, um, and we know how to like we don't need two mansions. Like we don't need like $2 million homes that we're living in. We we take what we need, and we're always working to form a successful business and um, making a life great for our kids and the family. But um, it's it's absolutely sacrifice from our end, but almost even more so our wives.
Mm. How so?
Every day I'm doing what I love, and they're like they love that for us. But they're also they're living the same. They're getting what I'm getting, except the part where they love it so much. They're getting I could be making more money if I just maybe I was studying to be a PA. Like I could be making more money being a PA, but I might not be doing exactly what I love, and not in the outdoors 110 days a year. So it's it's almost a cliche, but I mean it's the wife that is the reason that Nate and I are still doing what we're doing, and um, it's just
So
keeping home
they're
life.
100% supportive,
Yep.
I assume,
Yeah.
but I also know how that works because my wife's the same way. She knows I love this. She
Yep.
also knows that she could say one word and I would sell everything I have and I'd be done.
Hmm.
Like she she our relationship, my family matters more.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, I've quit hunting a couple of times during the course of our marriage just because I've been like I feel so guilty, like I just can't do it because I'm and so many hunters are this way. They're not good at just kind of sticking a toe in the water, you know. Now some guys are, the weekend warrior, the guy who, whatever, but I'm just like kind of all or nothing. And I needed to either just give this thing up, and this is pre like YouTube, all that. Like I'm just talking about
Yep.
hunting, fishing, doing all
Yep.
that in general. Like
Yep.
I either just need to give it up or, I needed to like have at least enough, backing to allow me to really scratch that itch, without being detrimental, and
Yep.
being able to be the dad and husband I need to be, whatever. But I, but even still, so I mean, she's supportive. I know your wives are supportive. When does the line get drawn? when is it the rolling of the eyes, or one of those moments, or like, is there just an understanding, or what? Just how do y'all negotiate that year to year,
Yeah. Um,
even though it's your job?
right. The last 3 years where we've been able to make all of our expenses are covered, all of our hunting expenses are covered, and we're able to take a little bit home. That has changed a little bit where like they understand like okay, like these guys they're making money. They're not just like out like fooling around hunting for 100 days a season. Um, if Nate was here, he'd agree with me. His wife likes him home more often, and my wife is a little bit more chill with my schedule. Like we like both wives want us home as often as we can be, and that's just an understanding. Like we just know um, they're like we're going to be home as often as we can, and hopefully if they need us home and if a trip needs skipped, like you said, like hunting is a relatively unimportant thing when it comes to the family and the wife being happy. Um,
Okay.
time home, and what you do with that time home is extremely important.
Uh-huh.
I've seen it where I've maybe been home for a week, but like didn't do the things like I needed to do to really like fill my wife up and like reset her
Right.
um, with the kids and then the house and she's working as well. Um, but then other times I've been home for 2 days and I've just like done it right. I've been present, um, and then she's ready to go for another stint. We're lucky we have grandparents in town. We have my sister-in-law has a daycare still. It's just we're fortunate we're around family that is able to help. So I don't know. It's a whole system when we're gone for the fall. Like everybody's kind of chipping in. Nate and I will pay for certain things like preseason. Like I don't. Is it a thing in Alabama for these women to get their colors done?
What?
Have you heard that? Have you heard? Are you familiar at all?
Get their colors done?
Yeah.
Is that like
Have
a
you heard
hair
that phrase?
thing?
It's okay.
I'm sure my wife
Stay.
has. Like, I don't
I'm
know.
just I'm gonna give a high level. It's like they like these people like put like color strips on them and it sees like if your skin glows or not. Like that's one of the like and then these women are freak like they love it. Like they are bought in. Like
Wait,
they
Thomas, you
they
you don't do that
no I
with your
don't.
camo? You don't make sure your
Right.
camo hits just
Hey,
right?
we're about to put out a reel about it. I'm hoping. I wanted to ask you to see if I'm hoping most of the maybe the Midwest people know what I'm talking about, but it's
I
taken
I
over
w- I would
Nebraska.
still know, like I would resonate, even though I'm like, I don't know, like
Yeah,
maybe, I,
yeah.
I would get it. I would
So
get it.
yeah, that's just
I
like
get I
an
give you
example of
permission. You should do that reel.
yeah. We wanted to put different camo strips and see what just as a joke, but yeah. So we do things like give the wives 4 hours to go get their colors done and reset during the off season. When off season we're just home. We try to be present. There's always stuff that we're working on, but we try to do a little bit more relaxing turkey season than we used to. Um, we go to less trade shows than we used to, and we're better at we're being successful on hunts, which has helped a lot. Like last year, it really helped. We killed antelope and mule deer both on the same trip in 3 days, and then we killed a South Dakota buck in 2 days, and Colorado was a long one, unsuccessful. But if you're able to mix in some success in there, that brings their spirits up too. So
Yeah, no doubt. And do y'all do
yeah,
you do you leave early if you tag out?
yeah, yeah. We'll get on the road. We'll get on the road ASAP. We'll celebrate that night. Maybe order a za from the sketchy local Domino's or whatever, and then
There
we're
you
on the
go.
road early that morning.
Sketchy local dominoes. What? Okay.
Yeah.
What is off season then to you? Like, what is?
Off season, are really like off season to me just as mainly whitetail hunter. Like I think of off season as January to August basically. even though turkey
Okay.
season's in there, spring bear's in there, so many other things. But yeah, heavy season is just that travel time. That's with all the different deliverables we have with the companies we work with. We're doing 80% of our year in those
That's when you're
four
doing
four
it.
or 5 months. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you would call it January to August.
yeah.
Just interested. And so when you say 110 days, what are you referring to? The deer season or just
I'm
all of
referring,
your actual out of town days?
yeah, all of our like in the field days, including turkey season in that number. I think maybe during the fall we're doing maybe 60 during the fall, 25 during turkey season, and then the rest during off season work, um, all sprinkled in the off season. So
So look down the road then, and your kids are getting older. They're in school, they've got events, they've got
yeah.
activities happening all during the school year, which happens to also be during your on season. Does your travel change? Does your 100 days become 75 days, 50 days? Like what does that look like? What do you think that looks like?
Oh, I'm sure it changes just like it has just having kids. I don't know how that's going to look. It's a crappy part of our industry is like we have to be out, and it's a great thing, and it's a tough thing. Like we have to be traveling, we have to be away from home to hunt. And that's ideally why I'd love to have a place on ground. Maybe is be able to just go out the back door, and we're not making those 2 hour trips down to Kansas and whatnot. But I know it's going to change. Um, I'm hoping that our kids, and I already see it in them, that they love the outdoors and they'll understand what I do. But again, it's about being present when I'm home. I'm not gonna miss important things for the tree stand time. Um, so that's just gonna be another thing that we learn down the road.
Because that'll be hard.
Oh yeah, I've
It's hard during the fall.
yeah, yeah. I
You need to
used to
be in the
have
stand. That buck is
yeah,
showing up, like
yeah,
he's on camera. Oh, we've got a, parent teacher conference. We've got, an art show. We've got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I'm just curious, like, because this is also your business. This isn't just your hobby. And so, like that would be tough, because
yeah,
a harvest, there's kind of, I mean, you know how it is, like that weighs on you,
yeah, yeah. We
some
try our
degree.
hardest. We try our hardest to. Oh, it absolutely weighs on us. We try our hardest to be gone during the week and home during the weekend
Okay.
when the wives aren't working, and when kids' activities might be. My oldest is the oldest between me and Nate, and he's going to be 4 in September. So um, we have a couple of years before activities really ramp up, but I know it's just going to be something. Yeah, days are going to be cut, and trips are gonna we're gonna have more specific time for trips, and it's just gonna all continue to change.
So those are just ongoing conversations. That's really the
Yep,
key. And that's one thing that is really hard. I mean, and you never fully learn it. You know it, but you never fully learn it. Some people I'm sure are better than others, but even at 49 and having been married a long time and knowing it, in my head, it's all about communication. Like so much can be avoided, as far as
yep,
tension and, you know, misunderstanding, expectations, as long
yep,
as things are communicated in advance. And
yep,
man, I'm telling you, sometimes it's just,
yeah,
you just forget, or it's like,
yeah,
oh, it'd be easier just to like say it like the week before, or just,
yeah.
like it can be tough.
Yeah, we at this stage we're giving our wives our entire fall schedule down to every date, like 3 or 4 months in advance. So there's no question when gonna be gone. Obviously, if things pop up, we're gonna be as flexible as we can with it. But
So if y'all had 300 acres in Nebraska within an hour of your house, That changes things.
Yeah, that definitely changes things. We're hunting that a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, and if you've got, deer you're chasing, how many can you shoot in Nebraska? How many
You can
bucks can
shoot
you
two.
pick? Two
Two.
bucks.
Yep.
And that's archery or rifle?
Yep.
$2. That's it.
Yep.
So at the most, between the two of you, it's like 4 videos.
Yep. Yeah. It's what's important. What's important for us. It's like it's a little bit less about what companies really want for us is like different environments, shooting different photo and then video B-roll. So like we could definitely cut back cut back on trips if we really had to. If we wanted to go very, very, very slim, I think we could cut trips out of there. Maybe just wait to apply for certain tags. We maybe could easily draw or um, do certain things like that. But yeah,
It's just interesting. The hunting
yeah,
public guys, for example, like Greg, he's married. He doesn't show up as much.
yeah,
He's behind the lens. He films a few of his own hunts, here and there, and back at home for him, and those will be some of his videos. And he's just not around as much as the
yeah,
other guys, who they have a girlfriend, or I don't know that anybody else is married out of those guys. But I'm like,
yeah,
how did y'all go away just for turkey season for like 6 weeks at a time, on the road, hitting every opener in all these different states? And I'm like, man, like, because it looks so appealing. It's like y'all are just slaughtering
yeah,
long beards,
yeah,
over and over. And it's like all this footage, 30 something videos during turkey season. I'm like, y'all are like and man, hey, I turkey hunted vicariously through those guys this year. Like I did, because
yeah,
I didn't kill a thing.
yeah,
And, and I know that there's young guys looking at that going, man, that's awesome. I want to do that.
yeah,
It's like, that's just not realistic. Like, I wonder what's going to happen. It's just always interesting to me. I'm always thinking, what does this look like in 10 years for these guys?
yeah,
They all are married, and are they still doing this? Are they traveling this much, or do they pass it along to a younger crew? Like, I just, like, it's just interesting.
yeah,
Sustainability is a big thing that I'm trying to think about, which is why I'm starting the podcast, honestly.
yeah, yeah,
Because I can't get out there and produce tons of content. Like, I
yeah,
just don't have the bandwidth. I'm not going to be available.
yeah,
I won't be that successful,
hmm
Um, Mike can take a couple of trips, here and
yeah.
there, but that's a big deal, to be able to do that. So tell me this. So just a couple more questions. Any advice? Any advice? And we've talked some about this, but for that new hunter or young hunter, when it comes to managing family and or priorities. And that's a
Everybody's
tough one. That's big.
yeah, yeah. I feel like everybody's gonna have their own set priorities, but Nate and I have made the decision together that hunting is really it's where we get a lot of our income from these days, but it's also not nearly as important as family time, making sure that everybody at home is happy and in a good state. Um, Advice just marry that guy or gal that you know like that truly understands you and cares about your passions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what got us through those first early years. Is we weren't making money. We had some nice discount codes, but it was they appreciated like what they loved seeing us happy, and they
Love
knew
that
we
pro
loved
staff, baby. Pro staff.
pro staff. Yeah. So yeah, just we had patient ladies, still do. So
So having that spouse that does understand, not just understands, but is supportive, at least to, some degree,
Yeah,
really is behind you.
yeah. We talk to people all the time. They're just like, man, I'd love to do what you do, but my wife would never go for it.
Mm,
And I get it. Like it's not a lifestyle that some people like can understand.
yeah.
So
Well, and I think about it. I mean, even 100 days a year. I mean, there's salesmen, traveling salesmen, truck drivers. I mean, there's plenty of people who are on the road that much, if not a lot more than that. I mean, there's
yeah,
people in our church who they get up, you know, Monday morning and they hit the road and they come back Thursday night every single
yeah,
week of the year.
yeah,
Like that's their schedule. And man, I'm just like,
yeah,
I I can't fathom. Like I know I
yeah,
couldn't do that personally, so I wouldn't even want to. Like even if it was
yeah,
hunting, I wouldn't want to do it that much. I
yeah,
just, you know, and then one thing that may change it, and this may, you know, become more of a conversation later, as your kids get older, they may want to be involved with it
yeah,
and be a part of it. And so that may change things as well, where it becomes a
yeah,
family trip and then you're
yeah,
also hunting as a part of it, like
yeah,
just being on the road together. I don't know if I've toyed with that idea.
yeah.
Um, so just real quick, like what is the future? What do you and we've kind of hit on this, but what's the future look like for you guys? You can't predict it, but what's 5, 10, 20 years down the road? What are you guys doing?
Mhm.
You probably still see yourselves doing it together.
Yep.
Um, but can you give us insight, or maybe these are things you keep under wraps right now? But is there anything that y'all are in the works?
Yeah.
Identical
Um,
draw.
we're trying to we try to stay on top of it so much, just the industry where things are headed. I mean, you touched on it. It's the biggest nerve-wracking thing to getting into this, and I could get hot sweats for years thinking about it. It's just sustainability. Like,
Yeah.
how do I do this until I retire? And that's a very tough question. And what I've just in the short 6 years that we've been doing this, that answer is just always changing. You gotta stay on it. It's Outdoor Channel, now it's YouTube, now it's content. We're continuing to evolve, and if you stop evolving, I think you're getting behind the wave. And then I mean we're entrepreneurs at heart. Like we're gonna start. If I were to look into the future, I in the next 20 years, I bet I started multiple businesses potentially. We're idea thinkers. We've got one that can't quite talk about, but it's in the works. And it's things like those that kind of give a little like, okay, like maybe I can at least do this till I'm 35. You get a couple extra years.
Real old.
Um,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, really old. Yep. um, so, but yeah, did I answer that question?
Yep, that's good. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just curious because my wife and I are the same way. I think I this generation has been given permission to think outside the box when it comes to what you can and can't do, what a viable career really means.
Yeah.
It doesn't require going to school, going to college necessarily. That's not everybody's next step. But when I was growing up, like it just like it wasn't even a thought. It wasn't because my parents pressured me or made me do something incredible. Like I
Yep.
just never considered not going to school.
Right.
Like it never crossed my mind. And so you just went to college because like that was the best next step. And it's still a good thing, but that's not like it used to be where you went to figure out what you wanted to do, which is
Yeah.
which I told my kids as they were growing up, like we're not funding that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to send you to college unless you know you need to go to college, because like
Yeah.
that's what, like, you have a very set career like path that requires that kind of education,
Yep.
because man, it is not like so expensive. So I love that. And and but even people my age now have been given somewhat, permission to rethink,
Right.
maybe to retool a little bit. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm considering this. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
there?
No, I like that a lot. I like the thoughts on college. I even like it never crossed my mind that I wouldn't finish college. I just kind of got into it. And I was like what am I kind of doing here? I was just learning so much elsewhere. My parents were generous and they gave us they had been putting money away for college and stuff, and I'm all, like they put it in a college fund, so I didn't even end up using all of it. I can now put it elsewhere, but like for me and my kids, I'm saving up not for college, but whatever they decide post high school. It's like you said, it's shifted so much. Like your generation's been given permission to
Yeah.
do what our brains are more. My generation's kind of more wired to do. Um, but it's just if they go to college, great. If they want to be a doctor, great. But if they also want to try something, the like not going to college 10 years ago was like, okay, that person's just like messing around. They just are kind of trying to find themselves. But now it's like you don't go to college, you're you're trying to find maybe like a much cheaper way than going to college. You're trying to find what you're passionate about or something like that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Like
yeah,
it's like, and I know this isn't everybody, but my daughter, for example, and her husband, they dropped out of school because they were
yeah,
both in education, realized that they really didn't want to do that. Like they had
yeah,
a couple of years in and they were like, we really don't want to do that. And they're like more than ever before that I've seen anyway, they're very willing to pay the price to be free of that, to
yeah,
pursue, to be an entrepreneur, to just kind of try some different things, like it's like we're okay with hand-me-down furniture and a tiny apartment and,
yeah,
just not having a whole lot right now because, and I mean, it was like, how fast can you not live that way when I was, when I was
yeah,
their age?
yeah,
But for them, it's just kind of like, that's just the life we've chosen for right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
and I know they want to get out and, do things and, make enough to be able to have a home and that sort of thing. But, it's just, I just, and not only like, it's not only just a willingness to pursue that, but there's opportunity to do
yeah,
just about anything. The
yeah,
internet really makes it
yeah,
so viable, to really
yeah,
consider that. So I love
yeah,
that. This has been a fun conversation, Thomas. I'm really glad I got to finally talk to you.
yeah,
Hopefully, I'll make it to a trade show where you guys are sometime and get to shake your hand and,
yeah,
you know, actually see you face to face. But this is the wonder of technology. This is
yeah,
super cool.
yeah. I think we're planning on Western Hunt in Nashville. Well, I don't know. I don't know where NWTF is going to be this year. I'm not sure. But
Hey, I'd be
NWTF and
okay if it
Western
was
Hunt.
back in Nashville. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it was fun,
yeah.
fun place to be. And boy,
Sweet.
it was crazy. A lot of people,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people. So y'all are thinking about going back there this
yeah,
year?
yeah,
Okay. Well, then maybe that'll be an opportunity. So
yeah.
last thing, where can where can people find you online? Where's the best place to track you guys down?
Well, if you're a new hunter, check out newhunter.org. But we point everybody to our Identical Draw socials. So at Identical Draw on YouTube and Instagram are our main. Messing around with threads a little bit. Not sure if that'll stick around or not, but
What'd you say?
yeah, we're messing around on that the new Threads app. Are
Oh
you
yeah,
familiar?
yeah.
Yeah,
Hadn't quite figured that one out yet.
Twitter 2.0.
It is. It's Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll have links to all these things in the show notes. And hopefully they'll be able to connect with you guys. And you've been a great resource for me. Y'all's content is freaking amazing. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. If it's a business or somebody that needs content, how should they best contact you?
You can email us. It's Thomas Krick at identicaldraw.com or Nathan Krick at identicaldraw.com. We have a website too where people find us. You can kind of see partners we work with, different content stuff we're working on. We also do a podcast. So all sorts of things on there too. It's just identicaldraw.com.
So it's identicaldraw.com?
Yep.
Okay. So if they're business inquiry,
yep,
that's where they find you guys.
That's right. Yep.
All right.
Small, medium, large. We're looking for anything. So.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, Thomas, thank you so much for your time, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Trip.